Welcome to the third episode in a Legendarium series about ancient Iberia. In part 3, A Land of Many Nations, we will talk about the Greek migration to the Iberian Peninsula. The Greeks were fascinated by Iberia and the Western Mediterranean because the region's distance endowed it with a semi-mythical quality for the ancient Greeks. Beyond the Straits of Gibraltar, the Greek hero Hercules was believed to have raised the famous pillars that bear his name. Another hero, Odysseus, is said to have founded a city in the Sierra Morena, and popular legend held that Trojan heroes landed in western Iberia after the fall of Troy. The Greek historian Herodotus also described the far west as home to lions who gave birth when their babies clawed their way out of the womb to prevent the birth of siblings who might compete with them. While that story is probably not true, Herodotus wrote a more likely story about a sea captain named Colonies, who became the first Greek to land in Iberia, as the Greeks called the peninsula, during the year 640 BC. Colonies came from the Aegean island of Samos and traveled to Egypt when a storm suddenly blew his ship off course, and he eventually landed at Tartessus. There, he and his sailors received a warm reception from a king named Arganthonius, whose name means Man of the Silver Mountain. They exchanged gifts, and Colonies returned to Samos with a tale to tell and a vast cargo of silver, the likes of which none of his countrymen had seen before. This ensured that more Greeks would follow the sea lane first traveled by Colonies. Yet for a time no Greeks established a permanent settlement in southern Iberia. It is possible that Greek goods found their way to the area through middlemen. Of course, it is also possible that the Greeks did not settle in southern Iberia because the Carthaginians already took a keen interest in that region. As early as 575 BC, the Carthaginians founded colonies along the southern coast of Iberia. Carthaginian colonies also appeared in Sicily, Corsica, Sardinia, and the Balearic Islands. For the next 3 centuries, the Carthaginians dominated trade in the same goods that made their Phoenician forebears rich. They included salt, fish, olive oil, and wine. And most importantly, the Carthaginians got their silver from Iberian mines, which formed the basis of their currency. Greek commercial expansion, however, did find an opening along the northeastern coast of Iberia, far from Carthaginian power. As early as 600 BC, Corinthian traders created a colony at Massalia, or Marseille, in the south of modern-day France. About 25 years later, the Greeks founded an offshoot colony at Emporion on the coast northeast of Girona. Although Emporion never acquired the status of Massalia, it became the principal trade settlement for the northeast and the Greeks' major town in Iberia. The Greeks living abroad prayed to the divine Hercules to protect them, for he too traveled abroad to slay monsters. Back home, their stories inspired the thought world of their countrymen. Herodotus wrote of Europe beyond Greece as home to cyclopses that stole gold from griffins who hoarded it, much like the dragons in later folklore. And like the Phoenicians, the Greeks did not penetrate far inland, and they did not sail beyond the Straits of Gibraltar either. The Phoenicians and later the Carthaginians brought back tales of thick mud, choking weeds, and sea monsters that likely put them off Atlantic exploration. Perhaps the Carthaginians just wanted the Atlantic for themselves. Yet like the Phoenicians, the Greeks did not mingle much with the native Iberians who inhabited the Mediterranean coast. Indeed, the plans for the city of Emporion reveal a wall that divided the Greek district, which extended inland for about 1,000 feet, from the native Iberian section of town. Only one gate opened within the wall that divided the two, and the Greeks posted guards there around the clock. Iberian chieftains, especially those who controlled the vital silver trade, still developed a taste for fine Greek pottery. The two most famous pieces of Iberian art that we have from the Greek period include two funerary sculptures, the Dama del Elche and the Dama de Baza, both of which have Greek characteristics. Of course, the Greeks also left behind plenty of evidence for their Iberian presence. These are mainly in the form of artifacts. They include jewelry such as earrings, necklaces, and combs. They also include personal effects like glass drinking cups and little clay figures. Finally, the Greeks also left household goods like pottery, ceramics, and pitchers. How did we find so many Greek goods? Most of them were left in cemeteries where mourners gave the dead the things that they would need in the next life. We do not know what the Iberians actually called themselves and the land they lived in. Some argue that the Greek name Iberia derives from a native Iberian word Iber, meaning river. Others say it is related to the Basque word Ibar, meaning valley. And just to complicate matters, the Greeks also gave the name Iberia to a region east of the Black Sea, roughly modern-day Georgia. So the origins of the name Iberia remain a mystery to this day. And though the origins of Iberia's name remain obscure, the presence of Greeks and Carthaginians would definitely help to make Iberia a battlefield between Carthage and the ascendant power of Rome. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.